Right now, there's probably a small container of black pepper sitting somewhere in your kitchen. You sprinkle it on eggs, add it to soup, season meat without giving it a second thought. It's one of the most common spices in the world. So common, in fact, that it's difficult to imagine it was once worth its weight in gold. There was a time when kings treasured it. Merchants risked their lives to obtain it. Pirates attacked ships carrying it. And powerful nations crossed vast oceans in search of it. Black pepper wasn't simply a seasoning. It was one of the most valuable commodities on Earth. Its trade reshaped economies, financed dangerous expeditions, helped launch the age of exploration, and played a surprising role in the rise and fall of empires. All because of tiny dried berries growing on climbing vines in the tropical forests of southern India. How did something so ordinary become one of history's greatest treasures? Why were people willing to travel thousands of miles, brave violent storms, and fight costly wars just to obtain it? And how did black pepper transform from a luxury reserved for royalty into a spice found on nearly every dining table in the world? In this documentary, we'll uncover the extraordinary story of black pepper. A story of adventure, ambition, greed, and one tiny spice that changed the course of human history forever. Long before black pepper appeared on royal dining tables or merchant ships, it grew quietly in the tropical forests of southern India. Its home was the Malabar coast, a narrow strip of fertile land bordered by the Arabian Sea on one side and the towering Western Ghats on the other. The region's warm temperatures, heavy monsoon rains, and rich soils created the perfect environment for pepper vines to flourish. Unlike grains that covered open fields, black pepper grew as a climbing vine. It wrapped itself around trees, stretching upward toward the sunlight. Clusters of small green berries formed along hanging spikes. When harvested and dried beneath the tropical sun, those berries shrank, darkened, and became the familiar black peppercorns used around the world today. For the people of the Malabar coast, pepper was more than just a seasoning. It was one of nature's greatest gifts. Farmers learned how to cultivate the vines, harvest the berries at just the right moment, and dry them carefully to preserve both their flavor and aroma. Generations refined these techniques until pepper became one of the region's most valuable products. Word of this remarkable spice spread far beyond India's shores. Travelers carried small quantities across deserts and seas. Merchants returned home with stories of a spice unlike anything they had ever tasted. Its sharp, warming flavor transformed ordinary meals. Its rarity made it a symbol of wealth. Soon, demand began to grow. What started as a local crop would eventually become one of the world's most sought-after commodities. Without realizing it, the farmers of southern India were cultivating a product that would reshape global trade for centuries to come. As black pepper reached distant markets, its value increased dramatically. Every mile it traveled made it more expensive. Merchants transported it across mountains, deserts, and dangerous seas. Each journey involved risk. Storms could sink ships. Bandits could attack caravans. Political conflicts could close vital trade routes overnight. By the time pepper finally reached Europe, it had become one of the most precious goods money could buy. In medieval cities, pepper was so valuable that it was sometimes accepted as payment for rent, taxes, and debts. Wealthy families displayed it as a sign of status. Royal kitchens guarded their spice supplies carefully. To serve generously seasoned food was not simply a matter of taste. It was a public display of prosperity. The spice became so valuable that merchants referred to it as black gold. Not because it glittered like precious metal, but because it generated extraordinary wealth. Entire fortunes were built on buying pepper where it was plentiful and selling it where it was scarce. The profits were enormous. Control the pepper trade, and you control one of the richest businesses in the world. This growing demand transformed ports into bustling centers of commerce. Ships arrived carrying silk, ivory, precious stones, and exotic spices. Among all these treasures, black pepper remained one of the most desired. Its popularity continued to grow with every generation. Soon, kingdoms were no longer satisfied with buying pepper through middlemen. They wanted direct access to its source. That desire would soon inspire some of the greatest voyages in human history. And it would change the map of the world forever. Long before airplanes crossed continents or massive cargo ships connected global markets, the world's most valuable goods traveled along a web of ancient trade routes. Among them, none was more prized than black pepper. The journey from India's Malabar coast to distant kingdoms was long, dangerous, and expensive. After harvest, sacks of pepper were carried to bustling coastal ports, where merchants loaded them onto wooden sailing vessels. These ships crossed the Arabian Sea, guided by seasonal monsoon winds that experienced sailors had learned to predict with remarkable accuracy. The voyage itself was only the beginning. From ports in the Middle East, caravans of camels carried pepper across scorching deserts. Merchants navigated mountain passes, crossed rivers, and passed through powerful kingdoms, each demanding taxes or tribute for safe passage. Every stop increased the spice's value. By the time pepper reached the great trading cities of the Mediterranean, it had already traveled thousands of kilometers through the hands of countless traders. Each merchant earned a profit. Each kingdom collected its share. Each shipment became more precious than the last. The spice routes became some of the busiest commercial highways in history. Alongside pepper traveled silk from China, incense from Arabia, ivory from Africa, gemstones from India, and ideas from every civilization connected by trade. These routes did more than transport goods. They spread languages, religions, technologies, scientific knowledge, and cultural traditions. Entire cities rose to prominence because they controlled strategic points along these trade networks. Ports flourished, markets expanded, empires enriched themselves by taxing the endless flow of valuable cargo. Black pepper was no longer just a spice. It had become one of the driving forces behind an international trading system that connected much of the known world. But for European kingdoms, there remained one frustrating problem. They still depended on many middlemen before pepper finally reached their markets. And that meant paying ever higher prices. Soon, rulers began asking a bold question: what if they could sail directly to the source? By the late 15th century, Europe's appetite for spices had become enormous. Black pepper was no longer simply a luxury. It was a business worth fortunes. Yet European merchants faced a costly obstacle. Most of the spice trade passed through powerful intermediaries before reaching European markets. Every transaction increased the price. Every middleman reduced potential profits. Kings and merchants dreamed of finding a direct sea route to India. If successful, they could bypass established trade networks and gain access to pepper at its source. This dream helped launch one of history's greatest eras of exploration. Ships ventured into unknown waters. Navigators relied on stars, rudimentary maps, and courage. Many expeditions never returned. Those that survived reshaped the world forever. One voyage in particular changed history. When Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama rounded the southern tip of Africa and reached India by sea, Europe had finally discovered a direct maritime route to the spice markets. Suddenly, black pepper could be transported without crossing vast desert caravans or relying on numerous intermediaries. The economic consequences were enormous. Portugal quickly established trading posts along the Indian Ocean. Fortresses guarded strategic ports. Merchant fleets sailed regularly between Europe and Asia, carrying pepper and other valuable spices across the oceans. Other European powers soon followed. Competition for control of the spice trade intensified. Exploration expanded. Colonies were established. Naval rivalries grew increasingly fierce. Remarkably, one of the driving motivations behind these global transformations was the pursuit of spices that today sit quietly in kitchen cupboards around the world. The search for black pepper did more than enrich merchants. It helped connect continents, redraw maps, and usher humanity into a new age of global exploration. Once Europe discovered a direct sea route to the spice markets, the race for control of black pepper intensified. What had once been a trade conducted through merchants and caravans became a contest between powerful nations. Portugal was the first to establish a strong presence along the Indian Ocean. Fortified ports were built at strategic locations. Armed ships patrolled major shipping lanes. Merchant vessels carrying pepper sailed under military protection, for their cargo was worth a fortune. But Portugal's dominance would not last forever. Other European powers soon recognized the immense wealth flowing from the spice trade. The Dutch entered the competition with determination, creating one of the most powerful trading organizations in history. The English followed, eager to claim their share of the profits. Competition quickly turned into conflict. Naval battles erupted across the Indian Ocean. Trading ports changed hands. Alliances were formed and broken. Control of a single harbor could determine who profited from the world's most valuable spice. The dangers were not limited to rival empires. Pirates lurked along busy sea routes, waiting for heavily loaded merchant ships. A successful attack on a spice vessel could make a pirate crew wealthy beyond imagination. For captains, every voyage carried enormous risk. Storms, disease, shipwrecks, enemy warships, and pirates all threatened the precious cargo. Yet despite the dangers, ships continued to sail. The rewards were simply too great. The struggle for pepper became part of a much larger story: the rise of global commerce, naval power, and overseas empires. What began as the trade of a simple spice had evolved into an international contest that reshaped politics, economics, and the balance of power across continents. Few products in history have inspired such fierce competition. Fewer still have influenced the destiny of so many nations. For centuries, black pepper was a luxury reserved for the wealthy. Its high price reflected the difficulty of obtaining it. Long journeys, limited supply, dangerous trade routes, and fierce competition kept pepper beyond the reach of ordinary people. But history rarely stands still. As maritime trade expanded and European powers established regular shipping routes to Asia, pepper became easier to transport in larger quantities. Supply increased. Prices gradually fell. The spice that had once symbolized wealth slowly became affordable to more families. Advances in agriculture also played a role. Pepper cultivation spread beyond its original homeland. Farmers in other tropical regions successfully grew the vines, increasing global production even further. The exclusive treasure of kings slowly became an everyday ingredient. Ironically, this marked one of black pepper's greatest victories. It was no longer valuable because it was rare. It became valuable because everyone wanted it. Today, black pepper is the world's most widely traded spice. Millions of tons are harvested each year and shipped to nearly every country on Earth. It sits beside salt on restaurant tables. It fills supermarket shelves, and it quietly seasons countless meals every single day. Most people never stop to consider its remarkable past. Yet every peppercorn carries the legacy of ancient farmers, daring sailors, ambitious merchants, and powerful empires. Its journey from the forests of southern India to kitchens around the globe is one of the greatest success stories in agricultural history. Black pepper may have lost its extraordinary price, but in doing so, it gained something even greater. It became a spice for the entire world. Although black pepper is no longer worth a fortune, its journey from farm to table remains remarkably complex. The world's demand for pepper has never been greater. Millions of farmers continue to cultivate the climbing vines that first transformed global trade centuries ago. Today, black pepper is grown in tropical regions across Asia, Africa, and South America. While southern India remains one of its historic homes, countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, Brazil, and Sri Lanka have become major producers, supplying markets around the globe. Modern pepper farms combine traditional knowledge with new agricultural techniques. The vines still require warm temperatures, abundant rainfall, and rich, well-drained soil. They also need sturdy support, often climbing wooden poles or living trees just as they have for generations. Harvesting remains a careful process. The berries must be picked at exactly the right stage of maturity. Too early, and they lack flavor. Too late, and their quality declines. After harvesting, the berries are cleaned and spread beneath the sun or placed in modern drying systems. As moisture evaporates, they shrink and develop the wrinkled black surface recognized around the world. Despite advances in farming technology, producing high-quality pepper still depends heavily on experience. Farmers carefully monitor weather, pests, diseases, and soil conditions throughout the growing season. Their expertise determines the quality of every harvest. From small family farms to large commercial plantations, millions of people continue to earn their livelihoods from a spice that has connected continents for thousands of years. The methods have improved, the markets have expanded, but the relationship between people and pepper remains much the same. A tiny berry continues to support families, communities, and international trade on a remarkable scale. Walk into almost any kitchen anywhere in the world, and you are likely to find two familiar ingredients sitting side by side: salt and black pepper. Few spices have achieved such universal popularity. Unlike many seasonings that belong primarily to one cuisine or region, black pepper has become a truly global ingredient. Its flavor is remarkably versatile. It enhances meat, seafood, vegetables, soups, sauces, eggs, pasta, rice, and countless other dishes without overpowering them. This balance has made it indispensable to cooks for centuries. But pepper's appeal extends beyond its taste. For generations, people have valued it for its ability to preserve certain foods, stimulate appetite, and complement other spices. Its distinctive aroma and gentle heat have made it one of the foundations of cooking in cultures around the world. Despite the availability of hundreds of spices today, black pepper remains the international standard against which many others are measured. It is traded in enormous quantities every year. Its market spans nearly every nation, and demand continues to grow as global populations increase. Perhaps its greatest achievement is not that it once enriched kings or inspired explorers. It is that, after thousands of years, it remains just as relevant as ever. Very few products can claim such an extraordinary history. Fewer still continue to play such an important role in everyday life. From royal banquets to family kitchens, from ancient caravans to modern supermarkets, black pepper has never truly lost its crown. It remains, in every sense, the king of spices. History is often remembered through great battles, powerful rulers, and monumental inventions. Yet sometimes, the greatest changes begin with something far smaller. A single seed, a simple tool, or in this case, a tiny dried berry. Black pepper did far more than flavor food. It reshaped economies, encouraged exploration, connected distant civilizations, and transformed the way nations viewed the world beyond their borders. For centuries, the desire to obtain pepper pushed merchants farther across deserts and seas than ever before. It inspired new navigation techniques, financed ambitious expeditions, and helped establish trade networks that stretched across continents. Every sack of pepper represented more than profit. It carried ideas, languages, religions, technologies, and cultures from one part of the world to another. Ports that handled the spice grew into thriving cities. Merchant families built immense fortunes. Kingdoms strengthened their influence through trade rather than conquest alone. Even today, traces of those ancient spice routes can still be found in the architecture, languages, and cuisines of communities that once stood along these historic pathways. Black pepper reminds us that history is not shaped only by kings and armies. Sometimes it is shaped by ordinary people growing extraordinary crops. Farmers tending vines, sailors navigating unfamiliar oceans, merchants crossing dangerous deserts. Each played a part in changing the course of the world. The legacy of black pepper lives on not only in our kitchens but in the global connections that continue to define modern civilization. Long before the internet connected continents in seconds, spices connected them through trade. Among them, black pepper became one of history's greatest ambassadors. Its journey linked tropical forests in India with bustling markets in the Middle East, wealthy households in Europe, and eventually communities across every inhabited continent. The routes carved out by the pepper trade became highways for much more than commerce. Travelers exchanged ideas, scholars shared knowledge, religious beliefs crossed borders. Art, architecture, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine all spread more rapidly because merchants traveled the same roads and seas that carried valuable goods. In many ways, black pepper helped create one of humanity's earliest forms of globalization. No single empire controlled its entire journey. Instead, countless civilizations participated in moving it from one destination to another. Each added something to the story. Each benefited from the exchange. Even today, the global supply chain that delivers pepper to supermarkets around the world reflects this centuries-old tradition of international cooperation and trade. The technology has changed. Wooden sailing ships have given way to massive cargo vessels. Camel caravans have been replaced by trucks and container trains. But the principle remains the same. People across the world continue to depend on one another to produce, transport, and enjoy the foods they value most. Few ingredients illustrate the connection more clearly than black pepper. It is a reminder that even the smallest products can unite people separated by thousands of miles. The next time you reach for the pepper shaker, pause for just a moment. Inside are thousands of tiny peppercorns. They may seem ordinary, almost insignificant, yet each one carries the legacy of an extraordinary journey that spans thousands of years. From the rainforests of southern India, to the bustling ports of ancient civilizations, across deserts, oceans, and mountain passes, into royal palaces, merchant ships, family kitchens, and restaurants around the world. Black pepper has traveled farther than almost any other spice in history. It has witnessed the rise of empires, inspired daring voyages across unknown seas, generated immense fortunes, and quietly helped shape the connected world we live in today. Its story reminds us that history is not always written by the largest armies or the greatest monuments. Sometimes it is written by the everyday things we overlook. The foods we eat, the crops we cultivate, and the simple ingredients that connect people across cultures and generations. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the remarkable history of black pepper. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more stories exploring the fascinating history of food, agriculture, forgotten technologies, and the discoveries that shaped civilization. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. What surprised you most about the history of black pepper? Can you think of another everyday food with an equally incredible story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, because history is often hiding in the most ordinary places.